Hi, I'm Jenny, and in today's Q&A, I'm going to answer questions like what happens to my watches when I die, what my favorite Lord of the Rings character is, my thoughts on the current Rolex situation, and I'm also going to announce the winners from my G-Shock video, so definitely stay tuned for that. And that was it. Let's get started with the Q&A. Do you consider wearing watches as a way to show and to describe your future aspirations? I think that question is a really good one because it's kind of layered, because I do think that wearing a watch does say something about you and about the person you want to portray as to the outside world, you know? So I would say I would consider a watch as something to show, perhaps not necessarily my future aspirations, but where I am at right now, basically, or what is important to me, what my design aesthetic is. So yeah, I do think it does say a lot about you, what kind of watch you're wearing. If I could choose a sub $1,500 one watch collection, which would I choose? Great channel, by the way. Thank you very much. I think, you know what, to be honest, I would go for a Seiko, and I would either just, go for the Seiko tank that I already own, or perhaps if I fancied a bit of color, I would just go for a Presage Cocktail Time and pick a dial. I did get the red dial in 34mm for myself, and I would just go for perhaps like a more like classic color, like a blue, for example. And that would be it, to be honest. Yeah, a Seiko, probably either the Seiko Tank or the Presage Cocktail Time. Very simple. Treetop Flyer wants to know, are you frustrated with the Rolex situation? And if so, is it affecting your decision to purchase Rolex again in the future? Yes and no, because like as of right now, I do not want to buy any Rolex watch, so I'm not really invested in the whole Rolex situation thing. I do understand people that get frustrated with it, but some people really take it to the next level and make such a big deal out of it. And to be honest, if a brand would make it that hard for me to buy a certain watch, I would just spend my money elsewhere, to be honest. At the end of the day, it might sound a bit paradox of me saying that, it is just a watch. And I can understand how sometimes you get very attached to something and you kind of hype yourself up for something and you really want to, let's say, get a Daytona, and if it's just not happening for a retail price, then I would just say move on. I don't get how people get so hung up and obsessed with that topic and rage on and on for like hours or days online or offline. Just move on. If a brand makes it that difficult for you, then you should spend your money elsewhere. I think that's kind of what I'm trying to say here, basically. What are my thoughts on Vacheron Constantin? To be honest, I've never held one. It's rather rare here in Germany, I would say, or at least like where I live. I don't really get into contact with Vacheron that much, but the overseas is beautiful. And there was a video, Teddy made a video on a full gold, like a full yellow gold blue dial Vacheron Constantin overseas, and it looked stunning. And I would totally recommend checking that video out. I will link it for you down below. And we're going to switch over to Instagram. First up is coffee or tea. Let me say both. I love coffee and I love tea. I've grown up on drinking black tea. My dad used to make me lots and lots of black tea. Yeah, and for coffee, I go for an espresso or just black coffee. I don't like milk in it or sugar or anything like that. Just simple, give me the simple stuff. Black tea, black coffee, and that's it. I'm happy. Watchful Wrist wants to know, can you have lower end watches and still be a watch person? Well, let me say you can absolutely be a watch person no matter how expensive or how affordable your watches are. I would even say, like, you don't even have to own any watches or a watch to be a watch person. If you're interested in it, you are that person, no matter what hobby or anything. If you like the stuff, then you are that person. So yeah, absolutely, 100%. Oh, next up, sorry for the grim topic, but who gets your watches when you die? So if I leave this world before my husband, he would get my watches. Absolutely. So Kai, lucky you. Yeah, you get the watches. If he's no longer there, probably like my children if I had any, and then just who the closest would be my family. it would go to family, basically. That's it. I think that's pretty standard or classic for people to have their watches be passed over to their next of kin, so to speak. Erica wants to know, adjusting bracelets or removing links at home, yay or nay? An absolute yay for me, except for if it's an Omega Aquaterra, don't do it. Those things are going to, not only you will ruin the bracelet because it is drowned in Loctite, but you will lose your mind, you'll go insane. Don't do it, it's a horrible experience. Take it to a watch dealer or something like that. But for anything else, I would say you're good to go. You can try it at home, you know. Get yourself a nice smooth like felt mat or something you can put your watch on so it doesn't scratch up on a desk or something. Get yourself the proper tools, so like a tiny screwdriver, something for the screws in the watch. You know, there's like these very cheap little toolkits for watches that you can get on Amazon for like, I don't know, like 10 or 20 euros or something. Get those, they're fine, they're absolutely enough. You don't have to spend money on that stuff. And then just try it. There's also something I like to use. Let me just get that and I can show you what I mean, because that will be very helpful. Right, so when we film watches, we use these, but it's also very helpful as well if you are working with tiny screws or bracelets and that stuff, because you know how your hands can be very slippery or like oily or whatever, and you need to have a proper grip on a bracelet to, like, you know, unscrew the screws and yada yada. So what we have are these little like finger gloves. You can just, whoopsie, you can just roll them on like that. It works really well. You can get them on Amazon as well. Just look for like finger gloves, I think that's the word for them. So these come in super handy, and just try it yourself. If you notice that you can't like do it by yourself, that's fine, and you can just take it to a watchmaker, but you can, I would say you can save that trip and try it at home. So a yay for me, except for an Aquaterra, that's a nay. Okie dokie. Next up, favorite Lord of the Rings character. That's a cool question. I would say either Sam, because I mean he's the best friend one could ever have, or perhaps, you know what, no, let me scratch that. I want to go for Aragorn, because listen, he is, I mean he's good looking, duh. I mean, Viggo Mortensen is a good-looking man, but it's the combination of having someone very masculine, like traditionally masculine, like, you know, he's an excellent swordsman and he's brave and loyal and all that stuff, but he has also a very artistic side to him. You know, I mean, at the end of the third movie, he's singing when he's being crowned king, and he's wearing this flower crown, and these scenes with, I forgot what's her name, Arwen, where he's like reciting a poem or something. Like, he has this like typical masculine traits, but also a arguably very feminine side, or something that we would consider feminine, and it blends so well in his character, and I find it very attractive. So that would be my favorite Lord of the Rings character. What is yours? I would guess a lot of people would say, like, would take Aragorn, wouldn't they? He's great. He's a badass. He's just chef's kiss. It's so well written. Oh, a watch you wouldn't be caught dead wearing. Oof. Like I said, I don't hate watches. I don't have like a specific watch in my mind, and I would say like, I hate that. A watch I wouldn't be caught dead wearing though. You know what? I'm gonna say it. Any Frank Muller watch. I really dislike the look of these watches. Most of them. I haven't seen all of them, obviously, but from what I have seen, I would not be one to caught dead wearing a Frank Muller. I mean, imagine like I'm dead lying somewhere, and they would like look at my wrist and see a Frank Muller, and they would be like, "Is that really what she was into?" And I couldn't even say no. So Frank Muller watches. Sorry if you like them. It's really not my taste. What movie character do you see yourself playing, and what watch is she wearing? Well, I can see myself, I want to see myself playing Lara Croft. I think that would be cool. Because, I mean, I used to play Tomb Raider when I was growing up. So she was always a big role model to me, because she was a very powerful woman, but she was also very feminine. And I like that you don't have to be either like this tomboy or like a lady. She could do both. And I really admire that. If I would be playing her, I would be wearing a JLC Reverso. Because, you know, when I have to be the Lady Croft, I would have it on and just wear it like regularly. And then when I would go on my mission And on my adventures, I would flip the dial and have the steel case back version of it so it would not break. What would you recommend for first Rolex for a guy? I mean, it really depends, doesn't it, what you prefer and like. But I would say it's really hard to get something wrong with an Oyster Perpetual 36. I think that's just like a standard go-to in terms of Rolex. And if it's your first Rolex and you're a guy, go for a very simple Oyster Perpetual. Go for the 36 or like a pre-owned 39mm if you have big wrists, and you will have a watch that will last you for forever. And I had lots of people asking me about this beautiful baby here on my wrist. For example, Watch Gringa. By the way, you should definitely check her out. She's super funny. She has a YouTube channel. I will link it for you down below. And some OGs like Loop the Loop. And we've got Horror Times and MELE and Danny. A new Santos. I bought a new watch. This is my first Cartier watch and I'm very excited. It's the lady sized Santos. It's the 29 to 34mm case. It's super tiny. I love it. And for those who have been watching me for a while, you know that I have been looking into Cartier and buying a Cartier. And at first I thought I was going for a tank, but then I got my Seiko tank and that itch has been scratched. And now I found this beautiful Santos. It's from 1991, which is my birth year. And I was looking for a birth year Cartier. That was important to me because it means a lot to me. It was, you know, Cartier and their designs, like mainly the tank, it was the first thing that really stood out to me when I started to look into watches. Like the other watches and Rolex and everything, they look rather similar to each other and I was like, oh yeah, that's fine. But then I saw a Louis tank and I was like, wow, that's pretty. And it kind of, you know, started with a lot of other things, this whole thing. And that's why I have a very special connection to it. And I'm also really a big fan of everything Art Deco. I think it's such a beautiful time period in terms of art and the aesthetic to it. So it represents so much and so many of the things that I personally really love and are important to me. It's absolutely stunning. It fits so well. I wish though it had a form of micro adjustment, but that's fine because it, like right now when it's a bit warm outside, it sits a bit tight on my wrist, but that's fine. We'll see how that goes, but I'm so happy. I bought it online. I haggled the price, which is so out of my comfort zone. I will put up a review of this watch where I will explain everything. Boom! Look at that. So that's the story behind this one. And be on the lookout if you want to see more about that on a review that I will be putting out soon. And so that was it for the questions. Again, thank you so much for submitting your questions on Instagram or here on YouTube. I'm very sorry that I cannot answer all of them, but that would take me just way too long. And I don't want to have you sit here for hours and hours. But we are now going to find out who won the mid-size CasiOaks from my review. Right, Jenny here from the future. I have just randomly selected the winners for the G-Shocks. I will put the names up here on the screen. Congratulations to the winners and thank you so much for all of you who have taken part in it, who left a comment. Thank you so much. If you haven't won, don't worry, don't be sad. I am sure there's going to be a next giveaway coming soon, hopefully. And if you have won, don't worry, I'll get in touch and sort it all out with you. And that was it for today's video. Again, thank you so much for sending in all of your questions for the Q&A, for taking part in the giveaway. If you have enjoyed this video, you can give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this, you can subscribe to my channel. And I will see you in my next one. Bye. CasiOaks, baby. See, I've taken off my Apple Watch for all of you out there so I don't look like a barbarian with 2 watches on my wrists. But yeah, gotta do what you gotta do.